Every session should be recorded and uploaded into Whova, as well as any resources, materials that our presenters provide today and through your other various breakout sessions. With that, you are currently in Deep Dive, Supporting Career Readiness, Counseling Practices to Impact Your School's Results on College and Career Indicator and California School Dashboard. Our presenters are Jewyl Clarke and Tanya Bulette from the San Diego County Office of Ed. I'll hand it over to them. And
all right, thank you so much, Esteban. Like he said, I'm Jewyl Alderson Clarke, and I'm at the County Office of Ed, and we're part of the team who's working on how to best support your work on the CCI, or the College and Career Indicator, as part of the California School Dashboard. And so we're excited to be here today. Tanya, I don't know if you also want to introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Tanya Bulette, and I'm the counseling coordinator at the San Diego County Office of Ed, and a proud school counselor for over 20 years in the Grossmont Union High School District, where the San Diego County Office of Ed came out and trained us on CCI indicator and why it was so important for school counselors to know and understand this data. So it's something I'm very passionate about, because once I learned it, it just changed things. It changed it shifted my mind in how counselors should be doing this work and paying attention to this type of reporting. So I'm excited to share it with you. And Jewyl is an amazing colleague of mine, and she's very knowledgeable on this. So we're excited that she's here today to walk us through it.
Fantastic. We also just, because we have a team who's working on this county office, we have a couple of folks, Ross Godfrey and Ava Pando-Solis, who are on the call. So they we're all listening to hear what are the things that would help you best in your practice and how can we support that. So please don't hesitate to use the chat to share the things that you're struggling with. If you are joining us in the slides, we are on slide 28. And why are we on slide 28? That's because this is a deep dive. And so theoretically, if you engaged in the deep dive, you might have watched the pre-recording that was available in Whova for this session. But we are really curious because homework is a really rough thing. And so we prepared that you didn't have to do the homework. And so here is the first question. This is not Mentimeter, right, Tanya? This is if you can either answer in the chat or in Whova, or just use that like thumbs up or yes button on your participants, or the no, the thumbs down if you didn't have a chance. As we definitely wanted to make sure that if you did watch, if everybody watched it, great, we will jump into the deep end right away, but otherwise that we could kind of ease you in. So if we could get any feedback on this, so you should be able to find your way in Whova to the web portal, and there's a little Q&A, polls, and chat feature. Or you can just do, I see in the participants piece that you can just click no or thumbs down. Lynn with the power play, she pre-watched the video. You are awesome. All right, we've got a couple of yeses, we've got one no. So we're gonna go with 1/3 watched it and 2/3 didn't, or vice versa. So wherever you're at, first of all, I definitely want you to know that that recording is there for you, so you can come back to it. But let's kind of see a little bit more about your knowledge about this. So we're gonna use something called Mentimeter. So if you can go to www.menti.com, use this code 9425897, either on your computer, on your handheld device, whatever it is. We're going to ask you 2 quick questions to get a feel for who is in the room and what you know. I'm going to let this on to Tanya, so she is going to lead the Mentimeter here.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Now this is our first time using Mentimeter. I know this is a kind group, so hopefully it works. Can y'all see my screen there? All right, so looks like for the question, what level do you work with? You can see the numbers are coming in. We've got several high school, 1 middle school, awesome. I think we have about 30 people in this session, so we'll wait a little bit. Everyone gets
You'll
in.
see at the top there, it still has the menti.com and the code, so you can jump in and join us. Surprise, surprise, no college people came to look at what accountability is in high school. No way.
And this is a great tool. The free tool only allows for 2 questions, which is why we only have 2 questions. But if you want to purchase it, it's I think $10 a month, but there's a lot of bells and whistles. But it's a great way to engage your audience in a live format. Very simple, as you can see. Okay, I'll wait for maybe a couple more to jump on. It looks like I've got 18. Great. Okay, so we'll take it that this is majority is high school. Wonderful. Okay, the next question, I can move it forward. What is your knowledge of the California dashboard? Again, there's no judgment here.
It's all mystery who you are.
Yes, so it's just to help us to know, you know, how we can best support you through this workshop. And I love the last question, and thank you for those who are being honest. There's a dashboard, what? You could see the numbers coming in, great. Okay, so majority have seen it, but they just haven't spent time exploring it. Perfect, that's great. Because today we're gonna do just that. And I think after you see it and we just give you some materials to walk you through it, I think you're gonna be really excited. At least I was excited when I started learning more about it. Okay, I'm gonna stop my share and I'll pass it back to you, Jewyl.
Perfect. All right. Oh, I might not have selected to share. Let me just make sure. Yep, computer sound is shared. All right, so we're going to start and let this wonderful video give you the first quick overview, as they say it the best. Here you go. Oh.
Welcome to the California School Dashboard. Let the conversations begin.
How many students graduated on time at my son's high school?
Are students learning what they need to in English and math?
What's our district doing to get more parents and families engaged in real ways?
The California School Dashboard is the place you can get more information about each of these questions and more. The dashboard helps us all, parents, families, students, teachers, see how well our schools and students are doing and where improvement is needed.
I heard fewer students got suspended last year. Is that true?
What's my district doing to make sure students and teachers feel safe?
Think of the dashboard as the ultimate conversation starter. The information helps us talk to each other and with teachers and school leaders about what actually is going on in our schools. It helps us think about what additional questions we want to ask and where to find those answers.
Like what programs are working well in our district?
Or what's being done to help students who are falling behind?
Or which schools need more attention?
Right. The dashboard provides information that helps us have more informed conversations that lead to better planning and better results for kids.
Plus, it's an important way to hold our schools accountable, to see if they're making progress over time.
That seems like a lot to ask.
It is. But the future success of all our kids and our state depends on how well our schools are doing. It all starts with looking up your schools and learning more.
So start looking.
And let the conversations begin.
You can find more information about the California School Dashboard at www.caschool-dashboard.org. This video was produced for the California Department of Education by Californians dedicated to Education Foundation.
All right, so we did a bit of a deep dive in the preview video on just navigating the whole dashboard and getting in and out. And Tanya played the counselor role at a out-of-county school so that we could dig through some data and give you kind of a quick overview of what that would look like. But today, what we really want to focus on is helping you understand the ins and outs of particularly the CCI, or the College and Career Readiness Indicator, which is part of the dashboard. Now, why are we focusing on the CCI? Because it has a ton of components. This is not like graduation rate, which is its own, metric by itself. And yes, that changed a little to go to a 5-year, where 5-year graduations were also incorporated. But when you get into college and career readiness, there are a ton of metrics that could lead to that. So here we have a state issued version, and what you have is some students are going to be considered not prepared. They didn't meet any of them. Some are approaching prepared, which means they have met one of these, and some are prepared. And when I think about prepared, I think about going to Panera. Has anyone been to Panera and you're like, ooh, I get to pick 2, and there's like the you pick 2 menu, and you're gonna you could pick this and that, or this other one and over here. Sometimes you could pick 2 together. Sometimes it's like an extra cost to pick something. So what you'll see is most students need to hit at least 2 metrics in order to be on the prepared, but there are different combinations of those metrics that are allowed. What we've done is tried to simplify this, and you can upload the document. The document is in all of the chats. It's in the chat on Whova, and if you can access the chat here, then we can also make sure that you have it here in the chat for Zoom. But what you'll see is for each one of these different metrics that there are multiple ways for students to be considered college and career ready. And the reason is that there's no one way to be ready for college or career and career, whatever it is. And so what we know is that we want students to have a broad range of experiences. And that's what this kind of leads to. So what we want to help you do is navigate this particular document, but we've also created some resources. So you are now in the worldwide release of our new resource page we're building for the CCI. Now, I made it this week, so updates are to come. But we are actually creating a separate small video, if we come back to this slide, for each one of these components, and we have the first handful of them done. And so we wanted this to be a resource that you can use with parents, that you can use with other stakeholders, in ensuring that people understand the CCI. So here's our worldwide release with a bit of an overview of the dashboard, a little bit on the CCI, and then here are a few of the videos who are part of that. And so thanks to our SDCOE team for quickly creating videos over the last couple of weeks, and you may see some updates to those as we come. And here's our CCI team here. So this is a great resource for you, and I'm going to drop this in the chat, and Esteban will translate that over to Whova for us as well, for those of you who are there. So we want to help you. So basically, because this was a deep dive, what you're supposed to have done is watch the video, and then we don't just talk at you this whole time because that's boring and you're tired of being talked at. This is all about being interactive and pushing you. So right now, we're gonna do a quiz using Kahoot, where you're going to want to access this document. So that's why I dropped it in the chat. It's also, Esteban has dropped it in Whova. And so if you can get to this document that you see right here, that's going to be your best friend as we jump into Kahoot for the next segment of this interactive session as part of the deep dive. When that's over, be ready, because we're not going to let you off the hook. You are going to jump into your own data and take some time to explore it, and even kind of build out your own highlight page around your own dashboard. So are we ready? Okay. We're going to want this document. You're going to go to Kahoot. And I think at this point, Tanya is going to take over screen share.
choose the right one. All right. So first of all, before we jump in, and if you don't have the Kahoot app, it's, let's see, and you can't still see the slide, right? Maybe.
No, but if you push play now, I think it'll give you the directions.
All right. Okay. There you go. So it's loading the game pin. So hopefully you've used Kahoot before. Hear that music. It's a little old after a while. But if you could go to www.kahoot.it and then you put in this pin number, and then as soon as we start to see some players, you can give yourself a creative name. You have to watch it with students because they like to sometimes add inappropriate names. You got the focused in. All right. Everybody's joining. Great. And again, if you could have that chart up, I have it up really big on another monitor, or have it in another tab.
The music is really loud, Tanya, compared to your voice.
Is that better?
Yeah. You can just play music in your head, everyone.
Music is kind of.
I'm in. Guess what I named myself in that pile of names?
I love CCI.
That's me. I'm so nerdy. I love it. I'm all in.
We'll wait for a few more. So if you have that chart up, it's going to help. What I really like about the dashboard is that it's work that school counselors are doing, and now they're collecting data on a lot of the things that that you see we're not in charge of, but that we collect data on already. But now it's a way that school counselors can say, hey, I have a part in the graduation rate. I have a part in A through G. So a lot of the things that we do as high school counselors matter, and they're being accounted for. So how can we maybe shift some of the work that we're doing? If a student just needed one more A through G course, a second year of a foreign language, those are things that we can tweak and help in our schools so that we can raise these prepared rates. Looks like we've got 22. All right. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Now you have about 30 seconds for each question. Don't read too much into it, but again, if you can refer to the chart because it's really small in Kahoot, that will be your friend. All right, so we're going to get going. Okay, this student completed all A through G requirements except 1D, scored a 3 on ELA, and a 2 on the Math Smarter Balance, and was awarded the State Seal of Biliteracy. Is this student prepared? Did they meet one of these measures? So you're going to answer if they met the measure, they're prepared with the A through G requirements, the State Seal of Biliteracy, the Smarter Balance Assessment, or did not meet any measures. Okay, looks like we got about half the group. Sorry, it does move a little quick. And 6 of you responded correctly. Yes, the State Seal of Biliteracy. So if you refer to the chart, so there's multiple variables here about this student. They completed all the A through G requirements except they got a D. If you look at the chart, number 8, for a student to be marked as prepared by meeting A through G, they complete all the requirements, however, they need a grade of a C- or better. So no, this student did not meet it through A through G. All right, then we look at the second component, scored a 3 on ELA and a 2 on the Math SBAC. If you look at number 1, in order for the student to be marked prepared using the Smarter Balance Assessment, they need to score a level 3 or higher on both ELA and Math. So they did not meet it with that one alone. And then the last one, awarded State Seal of Biliteracy. And we look at number 5, and yes, demonstrate proficiency in speaking, reading, and writing in at least 1 or more languages in addition to English. And if you look at the second part of that, it says a Smarter Balanced Summative Assessment score of 3 or higher in ELA, and they did get a 3 or higher on ELA. So in order for them to be mark prepared, they need to meet both of these. And yes, that student has been mark prepared because they met both of those components. So now you see how it works. You kind of have to look at each one and see how the puzzle fits together. All right, so we're going to go on to the next question. And there's 5 of these, so we're going on to number 2. Oh, let's look at our scoreboard. M. Chem is in the lead by answering the fastest. Okay, completed A through G and took 1 CTE course, scored a 2 on both the ELA and math, took 3 AP tests, scoring 2s, 2 years in ROTC.
I clicked too quickly and I did it wrong, but
It's all right, no judgment.
I didn't read the answers properly.
All right, the correct answer for this one is they did not meet any measures. So they completed A through G and took 1 CTE course. Okay, so let's look at number 8 on the chart. So they completed A through G, great, but they also need to meet one of the additional following options. When we look at A, CTE pathway completion, in order for a student to be mark prepared, they need to finish a pathway, not just a course. So it's usually it's a sequence of courses. So at least 300 hours and completing a capstone course with a grade of C or better. So they didn't meet it with the A through G. Scored a 2 on both the ELA and math. Again, when we look at number 1, Smarter Balance, that needs to be a 3. And then took 3 AP tests, scoring 2s. Okay, so let's look at the number 2 on the chart, Advanced Placement. They need a score of 3 or higher on 2 AP exams, so they did not meet it there. And then 2 years in ROTC. So if you look at number 6, it says completion of at least 2 years of ROTC, and the Smarter Balance says a score of level 3 or higher in ELA or math, and a score of level 2 or more in ELA or math. And so, and a score of level 2 or more in ELA or math. So I guess they did meet the military science, right?
I think they did.
Yep. So sorry. Okay, so that one, if you answered it with the military, that is the correct answer. Apologize for that. So it looks like 3 people got that one right. Okay, so our results are going to be a little off. I'm sorry, on the scoreboard. All right, let's go on to number 3. Completed A through G, earned a D in 1 science class, scored a 3 on ELA and a 2 on math, took 2 APs and scored a 3 on 1. Okay. 8 seconds, get those scores in. All right, so for this one, did not meet any measures. So let's look at it. Many of you put advanced placement. Okay, so why is this one the last one? So they completed A through G, but they got a D in one of the A through G courses. So they did not meet A through G. They scored a 3 on ELA and a 2 on math. So when we look at the summative assessment, again, they need a 3 in both. They took 2 APs and scored a 3 on 1. So they took 2 APs and scored a 3 on only 1 test where they need to have at least 2 3s. So they did not meet any of these components. So that is did not meet any measures, correct answer. All right, number 4, completed A through G, scored a 2 on ELA and a 2 on math, took 2 APs and scored a 3 on 1, passed 1 year of dual enrollment. Okay, so this was a trick question, and many of you got it right. This student is prepared with either one of these. So with A through G or with the college credit. And again, just remember with the A through G component, it's completing A through G plus one of the additional. And because they got a 2 on ELA and a 2, that is a 2 on ELA and a 2 on math, I think you need to have a 3 in ELA. But they took 2 APs. Oh, let's look at that one. They took 2 APs and scored a 3 on one of them. And so that's how they met it. So they didn't meet it with the Smarter Balance assessment, but they completed A through G and they took 2 APs and scored a 3 on one. So that marks their A through G complete. And then of course, passing 1 year or 2 semesters of a dual enrollment course also gives them the college credit. Okay. And question number 5, completed A through G, scored a 2 on ELA and a 3 on math, completed a CTE engineering course, and another in photo. Seven seconds, lock your answers in. All right, and they did not meet any of the measures. So again, they completed A through G. However, when you look at the +1 option, when we look at the Smarter Balance, they need at least a 3 on English. They can get a 2 in math, but they have to have a 3 in the English. So they did not meet A through G. And then it says completed a CTE engineering course, but not a pathway. So if you look at the CTE pathway completion, one course does not complete a pathway. So they did not meet A through G. So this student did not meet any of these measures. So that's how it works. I know it's a little tricky and every student and situation is going to be a little different, but at least you can see kind of how this all works. And again, I apologize for that one question. But let's just see. Oh, looks like Jewyl. And then BLT. And then number 1 was MChem. Yay! Woohoo! All right. So I'm going to stop sharing now. And then we'll move forward. Great job, everyone.
Excellent. Let's see. We are looking to this screen. So at this point, we have now looked at some scenarios, but scenarios are not where it's at, right? In order for us to dive deep, we've got to get and look in the mirror and look at ourselves and think about what it is. So what we want to, oh, Ross, did you have a comment or question?
Just to really quick, the one thing that really stands out when we do that Kahoot is that A, this is complex, and B, there are a lot of kids who are qualifying to go to college and are what we would call really high-end students sometimes that still aren't meeting this indicator. And so I think, to speaking from the counseling end of it, we really need to be acutely aware, just because our kids have met the A through G requirement or just because they've gotten through a CTE pathway, we may deem them in our own minds as college or career ready, but we do need to look at the dashboard and the implications for that. So sorry to interrupt, but I just thought it was a great opportunity to interject right there.
Absolutely. And so I think it's really important for us to also like diversify our student experience, to really think about all of these different opportunities, because even though it's a you pick 2, the beauty is it's kind of a buffet, right? And our students can be prepared by hitting more than these. But what we look at is like that minimum is making sure they pick at least 2 of these. So hopefully you have had your students, you know, really thinking about these. But the question is, as we go forward, how do we increase our students' access to all of these different programs? All right. So what we want to do is have you take a quick overview of your own school's dashboard. We have a worksheet. I know that that word is evil. We'll call it like, what do you call that when you have like a
tour guide,
sports highlights page, right? For your school. I should definitely use more sport analogies. I played sports, but professional sports highlights are not my jam. So what we want you to do is kind of go through this yourself right now while we're here. That's why it was a deep dive. It's like kind of like flipped classrooms, right? You watch the boring stuff at home and then you come here back together. And so what we want you to do is go through this and find yours. So I'm going to walk you through this process to some extent and help you find it. So first of all, there is really specific details here on where you want to go. Now, if anyone is like new to this and you want me to walk through your data, I am open for suggestions as to which school I should pick right now. Or I can default back to that Orange County school. Anaheim was, oh, Cypress High School, I think is the one we used for our, or was it Anaheim High School?
It's Cypress.
Cypress. So I will either use this as our example so that none of you are on the spot, but if you particularly would like to be on the spot, I am open to your participation in that.
And the worksheet is in the WUVA chat. So
Perfect.
it'll force you to copy so you can go ahead and add your own information to it.
Let's see. And Svetlana, I see that you have unmuted yourself. I just wondered, do you have any questions? Is that, or do you just have to be out of mute?
No. I did actually have a question. I was looking for a place to type it in. I'm interested in how work-based learning it's not in the dashboard yet, but it is one of the CCI indicators that's being explored. Is that correct? Because that's also an area where counselors may have some impact.
Absolutely. So that is under consideration to be added. So one thing to know is that the CCI, just like all dashboard indicators, are kind of eternally changing thing that we're trying to keep up with. So right now, the state is investigating whether work-based learning should become part of our dashboard. And this might be, you'll notice in like a lot of other indicators, there's a very prepared level. So it could be part of prepared, but it also might be one of the things that boosts a kid into the very prepared level. Last week, the day before Thanksgiving break for most of us, there was a webinar by the CDE, particularly on work-based learning. I haven't yet seen the video of it come out, but it is promised that there will be a video that will be released. So if you're like a data person who's going to be like, what do I do about that work-based learning thing? Keep an eye out for that video, or you can send me an email directly and I'll email it to you when it comes across my desk. But yeah, what you'll see is because also this is a 4-year indicator. This is about your cohort of students who entered high school and what happens when they graduate. So what we need is like 4 years of data before that can even be part of the final indicator, right? So it becomes very complicated, but yes, you'll start to be asked to enter that kind of information into your student information system so that it can roll up to the state and be part of the potential consideration for that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
And this is why it's complicated. Yeah, Ross.
Jill has a comment. I mean, Lynn has a comment in the Q&A. She says we are going to be required to report on work-based learning this school year. She says I'm very interested in hearing how other LEAs are reporting this student level data, particularly in Synergy.
That is an answer that I don't have. I know that's one of the questions that we have, but if any of you all currently have a plan for that, feel free to.
I know for our district, we are working with our ETS group, our student information management team, and we are, because eventually that needs to be uploaded to CalPads, and so there's obviously a strategy, and these different systems don't talk to each other from the back end. They're not designed that way. We're learning. And so so we've been monitoring work-based learning just on our own, but it doesn't communicate with the student information databases. And so I think that's where we're trying to brainstorm as well. And I can't imagine every other school district's probably dealing with the same thing.
Right, and that's a local measure. So Esteban, I'm glad you bring that up. That's a local measure. And remember, these are reported by the districts. And so how you keep them in your student management system is usually predicated on who uploads them to CalPads. So I would refer to the person who does your CalPads and your student management system to see, hopefully they're one and the same, or hopefully they talk, because that's a big deal. Because remember, this is your data. The state's not mining this. It's clean data in, clean data out.
Absolutely. And I think now that we've gotten that exciting webinar from the CDE on that data, it might be time for us to maybe schedule a meeting. And maybe we can invite our data people to the next CTE Leaders Network meeting and dig into that a little bit deeper. And so if any counselors are interested in jumping in on that, let us know.
So we have another question. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
And the question is there a tool or app to help identify students who have met 2 or more of the factors? That way we can minimize human errors.
Well, and you're not actually going to be the one who clicks in a system whether or not they're prepared. That's actually going to be rolled up into the state from multiple places, from the district, from all the AP and IB scores come in separately. So there's a few different data sets that do roll into that. Some schools or districts have done some development of, I think Poway is actually an example where they've done some work on having a bit of an internal dashboard around the CCI. So that's an option. But really, if you can consider making sure that each student's kind of program of study includes enough of these that they're going to hit 2 of them, that would be ideal. But that's a really great question because our task force is looking for what people need, and that might be something that we could look at developing. So, all right, I would just want to take you on a tour. So hopefully you've all made it to this page of your dashboard. Is anyone having a hard time? You just go to casschooldashboard.org and then click in your school and go from there. And then we're going to scroll down and we see college and career right here. So the first answer, if we're looking at our, right, hopefully you're kind of filling out this worksheet as you go. The first answer here is that our CCI is green. Then we can scroll down a little bit and we have what they call kind of the baseball card for each indicator that gives you a little more detail. So here is this little box, and that's the box that is screenshot on your handout. And you can see a lot more information. You can see that 69.4% of students are prepared. You can see that this means they've increased. And if you know enough about the CCI or about the dashboard in general, it's about the status and the change. So in this case, they have 69.4, that's the status the number of students have, but because they're increasing, that also helps their spot on the, their kind of on the color grid that you'll see for CCI. So if I wanna know more about different student groups, I'm gonna click this view more details. Pause for a second, because when it gets there, it will rearrange the page so that you get just to college and career. I know there's 690 students in this cohort, and I can come down here and I can see all of my student groups. Now, can anyone tell me why there is no performance color for all 5 of these student groups at this particular school? In the chat. Or you can unmute yourself. Why no performance color? Tanya, what do you think? Why do you think we don't have it? I'll pick on Tanya. Why do you think we don't have a performance color here?
Probably because we don't have enough students in those groups to provide any results, measurable results.
Perfect. And Roger just put that in the queue in the chat right at that moment. So thank you, Roger Scott. He knows the ins and outs. And you can actually scroll down and see a little bit more about each performance color. You can see the number of students who are part of that group. And so if I click on no performance color, I'll see that students who have, if there's over 11, but under 33, I believe it is, it's like in that range, then we're gonna get a percent. But we're not going to get a color because it's just too small of a denominator in order for that to be like scientifically relevant. Under 11 students, we don't display the data because we want to make sure it's privacy, right? If there is only one Pacific Islander and we give them a color, then we could say like, hey, that kid right there is orange, right? We don't want to do that. That's terrible. So we definitely don't want to finger point on a national website where anyone can see it. And so you will not get that. Now, sometimes you'll get a color at the district level because it's a cohort of all of your students at the district. So And that helps to see the bigger picture, but it doesn't identify down to the student level. So that's why you'll see some of these differences. Now, this data is great, but somebody was asking earlier, right, about how do we identify students who met 2 or more factors? So this doesn't give you that data. That data is in a sneaky, awesome place. It's right up here at the top. No matter where you scroll, there's something called View Additional Reports. And this is where the magic happens. It's a scary looking page. You go over here and you want to scroll down to the College Career Measures Report. Dun, dun, dun. Get ready for a huge, giant data table of knowledge. Now, if you are trying to navigate there yourself, I kind of want to do this again so that you know. So here you are, you're anywhere on your own dashboard, and up here it says View Additional Reports. You click on that. There's a bunch of tiny writing over here. So let's see if I can make it bigger so you can really see which one we want to look at. The other one that's interested is this placement report. Oh, should I click on that and show you what that is? But what you really want is this College and Career Measures Report. That's going to give you a lot of data. The placement reports, they just tell you where the status and change. So I can do this, which is, placement reports are pretty cool. Make it smaller again. So here we can see, right, it was like 65% was the overall students, but here you can see all students were here, it was increasing. And so you can see on that crazy 5 by 5 that has like you increased, your high, medium, low, and there's one of these reports for every single indicator. And this is also a super fun place to look. But I actually want you to be at this other one, the College of Career Measures Report. And if you scroll a little bit, what you'll see is a ton of crazy data. Now, when we get in here, let me just walk you through what you're going to see. Here, you're going to see that this cohort has 690 students. So that means there were 690 students who graduated from high school. Actually, not necessarily, but 690 in the kids who should have graduated from high school from that original cohort that entered together in 9th grade. Is it every kid who entered 9th grade together? It is every kid who has not, their number has not been transferred elsewhere who entered 9th grade together, right? So if you have students who transfer out, their number gets transferred into that data set. Students who transfer in, their number gets transferred into your data set. So wherever they are in their journey, they're captured somewhere. We can see that about 69.4, are prepared, approaching 14%, and there are 16.7 students who are not prepared. They didn't meet any of these metrics at all. You can get the demographics as well, but here is where the magic is. So what I want you to do is look at this page. Where do we have the highest amount of students who are meeting prepared metric? A lot of times we see red and we're like, oh no, red is scary. But here, red is actually good. And let me make this smaller so you can actually see the key here at the top. Wow, the darker the color, the more prepared we are. So where are we most prepared? Who's got the answer? Chat us, talk to us. This interface is not as easy with the interactions, but don't be shy. Ross, you're on my screen still, so I'm gonna bug you. Which of these different metrics here on the left is the one that they're meeting for most students?
Well, it's awfully dark brown or brownish across the board here, so A through G completion is for the win.
Yeah, props to those counselors. They're really ensuring students are getting into the A through G courses. And Megan Kermy also, Megan also answered in the Whova chat right at the same moment. So I'm glad that you're all able to read a graph, right? Since that is part of our computational thinking skills. So as we go through, we see A through G and Smarter Balance are the top ones. If I'm gonna zoom into this, because I love pathways and this conference has a big pathway focused. How many students in this cohort of 690 students, how many of them are prepared by CTE pathway completion? Right? We're going to see that here, 59 students. So what I want to think is of all my students, that's about 2 classes worth, maybe 3 if you have smaller cohorts. So let's say there's 3 classes worth, do you have more than 3 groups of students who are in their capstone class? How many intro or concentrator classes do you have? If you have like 6 concentrator classes and then only 3 capstone classes across all of your pathways, and you're only getting 59 students out, is there something that we can do to increase these numbers, right? So one of the things I encourage you to do is look at this and really think about, like, in your school, what is not meeting your perception of the data? And I think that's a really important piece, because that helps us to see where the data we put in isn't clean enough, or where the actions that we're taking aren't resulting in a result. Okay, so if we look particularly at this, I'll tell you the one that jumps out at me the most in just about every single district is always college credit. So in this case, they got about 20 kids with college credit. So let's think about it. How can you get college credit? You can get it through dual enrollment. So maybe they have dual enrollment. Are only 20 kids in dual enrollment? Are there more than that? Why aren't their dual enrollment numbers reflected on the dashboard? They could be getting it by articulating, but articulated courses are courses that are offered by the college or by the high school that have an agreement with the college. In order for a student to get the college credit, they have to go apply to the college, claim the credit, get it transferred to their transcript, right? The only way college credit courses can be counted on the California school dashboard is if the high school puts them into their system as a college credit course and has that relate to the state. So if you're just saying like, oh, you took English at the college, that's going to replace your English credit, and you just put it in a plain old high school English credit, then you're not going to get college credit on the dashboard. So that's one place where I see a lot of cleaning needs to happen, as well as a lot of advocating for students to get that college credit onto their transcript. So only transcripted college credit is going to count. If I scroll down here to approaching prepared, there are 4 kids who did college credit but didn't complete a pathway, didn't do well on a SBAC, didn't complete A through G, didn't do military science, right? So we've got some kids who are getting college credit and nothing else. We have 18 kids who completed a pathway. So this is me scrolling down. Let me just make sure you see where I am on the page, right? Here's the report. The first set of kind of like orange and red is going to be the prepared student data. Then there's a whole new set down here that's approaching prepared, and this is your gold mine. Approaching prepared are the students who just need, you pick one. You're like, no, this is Panera, you get to pick 2, right? So all we need to do with these students, and this is, I know this is like what we call lag data, right? This is data after. These are kids who already graduated. You will never see these kids again. But the next kids are in the same system. And the system's going to keep shooting out kids the same way unless we change it. So this is why it's really helpful to look at data like this in order to change your practice and really be thoughtful. Okay, I'm going to look at my data and I'm going to say, wow, 18 kids completed a CTE pathway. And I know that means that they didn't do A through G, they didn't get any college credit, they didn't do well enough on the SBAC. What do I need to do? I need to make sure that my CTE kids are all in a A through G sequence of courses, right? Or maybe they just got a D in one course. You want to make sure that they go back and they retake that to hit the A through G. Maybe there are 41 kids here who completed A through G, but nothing else, right? Now, they might have taken a college credit course. They didn't put it on their transcript, so it doesn't count for the CCI. The bummer thing is, obviously, the kids don't care about the CCI. The kids, it doesn't impact them, right? It takes work to get it transferred onto their high school transcript. So there are some districts who have really done some work to change their system so that they've advocated with the community college so that it's easier for students to claim the credit. Some students are reluctant to put the credit on their high school transcript because if it's a 4.A and they're one of those 4+ students, it can actually pull their GPA down. But we have at least one district in the area that has board policy that says if it's college credit, just like AP, it's honors. And so that helps to get students more opportunities if they claim that college credit to put onto their transcript. So sometimes there are ways we can incentivize you know, getting those college courses onto their transcript, because that helps us on here. But if a student is taking college level courses, you know, then there's a great potential for them to be getting those honors, but that's all about your board approval. So unfortunately, you can't make that happen at your site level, but those are some of the bigger system things that people can look at to make those changes. Yes.
So I know that when we were shown this, we realized that we had an honors history course that was coded in a way that it was not meeting A through G. However, our students in the history course were getting that. That was a revelation, and that was something that the school counselors found that we needed to go back and change. So it could just be a course code that is being used that doesn't meet A through G, that could set everything off. So again, it's important for you to really dig deep into some of these areas. And also that articulation piece is huge, because there's all these pieces and paperwork, and kids in freshman, sophomore year, they don't know what articulation is. And even for my own son, he took a digital arts class that had articulated to the community college. Senior year, only because I'm a school counselor did I go, you know what? I think he got college credit for that. We had to dig deep, and sure enough, he did. He had it sitting right there at the community college on a transcript, but we were not aware. And so as school counselors, again, then we went back and all these kids had articulated credit. So that's where your work is so important, because those are the pieces that could really help bring up your prepared rates.
Well, and sometimes you all are the ones who are going to drive change, because you start seeing the need. We have unnecessary barriers in the way for many things, and one is claiming those college credits. So like one district has it that when teachers send out the syllabus at the beginning of an articulated course, they include all of the permission slips required to get the college credit at the end. And so if you're working with the college and you can get all of that paperwork ready before that course starts, then the parents sign it, you just put it on file. At the end of the year, when a student completes jumps through all the hoops and is ready, then you already have the paperwork to submit, right? So those are some of the things that we can do to streamline the process, so that the parents aren't having like more things come home and the kids get it crumpled at the bottom of the backpack, right? They're always looking for that syllabus at the beginning of the year, but are they looking for a permission to get college credit like in April? Probably not. So sometimes getting ahead of the game is great. So there are some strategies that you can use to improve your system. But I think one of the big things is looking at this, and I think that's some of our questions around, right? So hopefully you're able to navigate, answer all of these questions. But this idea, like, are you surprised by things on your dashboard? When you dig into these numbers, if you're surprised, then that's an area where you can jump in and try to make change in your system, because you think the system is working to get this result. But we know that the system is perfectly designed to get the results that it gets right now. So how do we change it? And we need to look at the root cause of that. Is the root cause dirty data, right? Data is as clean as you put it in is going to come out at the state level. Or is it something else? Is it like actually students and their schedules and things like that? All right, so I know we only have about 5 minutes left, so we wanted to make sure that you see some additional resources as we go through here, and there's only a couple more slides, so that actually works out. If you don't know this, because you're going to work with parents and students, all of this, there are actually tools on the CDE website, but it's weird because they use these weird tabs. So if you go to this boring California School Dashboard and Systems of Support page, you're like, oh, so much words, so many words. You get down here, ooh, look at these tiny, tiny tabs. This is where you're going to find parent resources. They actually have videos, parent guides, flyers about the dashboard. My parents don't all speak English. Guess what? This other tiny, tiny tab that's hiding right here. You click on that and they have a lot of this translated, particularly in Spanish, but they also have dashboard flyers in like Arabic, Chinese, Korean, Tagalog, Vietnamese, right? So these are all ways that you might be able to interact with and make sure that your parents are able to understand the quality needed for your students to meet college or career. So this, I'm going to drop into the chat as well in case you want to get to this page, but unfortunately it will just come to this generic page, and you have to know that there's these, here, let me make it bigger, these teeny tiny tabs that are right here just embedded in the page, and these are great resources for you to use when you're communicating with parents and students about the CCI. Again, a reminder, we're launching this page. Right now, it's kind of in a new draft form. We have a few videos on here, but we also have coming up, and this is one of the goals we have, is before the San Diego School Counselor-a-thon happens, that we will have it finalized. So you guys were a good initiator of this work. So hopefully, Tanya, do you want to talk a little bit about your, also your Counselor-Con that's coming up?
Yes, so please join us for the virtual San Diego School Counselor Con Reboot 2021. We're going to reboot this year, start fresh, work on our self-care, talk about things that are presently on our minds. And so it's coming up February 3rd and 4th, which is strategically placed during National School Counseling Week. So ask your administrators to give you the gift of professional development. The cost is $30, which is a bargain. So we hope that you can join us if you'd like to present. We do have a form that you can fill out in order to put in a request to present. And if you present, you're free. So again, another great way to get involved. And the registration link we will put in the WUVA chat.
I have put it in the Whova chat and the Zoom chat. I don't know who sees which.
Whova. So anyway, please join us. This is a great opportunity to get together with other school counselors, and it's become, you know, we're getting school counselors from Northern California, from out of state. So we'd love to have our San Diego school counselors represented. So please join us.
All right, and that is the finale of our in-person component. Now, if you really want to know more about the dashboard, look at Whova, because we have a good 30 minutes and we walk you through, kind of like we just did the walkthrough part with you right now live, because we wanted this to be this deep dive where you could get into your data, and hopefully you did. And then, but if you want to know more about what is this 5x5 grid, and what do you mean by, which one was it? I think this, nope. I opened it at some point. Oh yeah, these grids. If that's really scary to you and you're like, no, what's that? I have no idea. Go watch the video, because I do talk a little bit about the 5x5s. But we are also here for you. I don't know why our emails aren't on here. I'm gonna go ahead and put my email in the Whova. And
while Jewel's doing that, thank you both, Jewyl and Tanya, for an awesome presentation and great information. Just some housekeeping things. I know you guys are going to get the email reminder to do your survey, your of the presentations, and we wanted to do, if you guys want to turn on your cameras real quick, and we'll do a quick screenshot. I'll do a yay before we all head off to lunch. Thank you, everybody, and yeah, thanks for enjoy the rest of the presentation, which will continue tomorrow. All right, cool.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your conference.